Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round 5 of Season 4 of TTML Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmensis. I'll be taking you through proceedings once again on a Thursday evening, and joining me in the commentary box, as per usual, is TTG Conti. Conti, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, really good. And yeah, I think I say this every week, but excited for tonight's race again.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be excited for this one. It's been, once again, a fascinating season so far for Division 3. It's a little bit different to how we've had it, well, we had it last season, obviously, in Season 3, where we saw quite a bit of dominance from two specific drivers in F1 AMG and Old School. This time around, it's definitely a closer of a field, but even so, we do have two standout front runners at the moment. Just coming off the back of last week, obviously, we were at Canada this time last week, and it's fair to say that Canada was a pretty eventful race, especially the last 5 laps.
Yeah, it was. It looked like it was just Secret DJ Jill at the race in his back pocket, but yeah, he had a little bit of a slip up at the end of the race and lost well quite a big chunk of his front wing, and eventually, even after having, I believe, 10 seconds leading over Simply Superman, he eventually didn't win the race because of that.
Yeah, he did. He ended up losing the race victory. Spun coming out of turn 2, broke his front wing with, I believe, 2 laps to go in the race. It was on the
Yeah.
penultimate lap that he had that spin. He was able to come round for a third place finish, but even so, he utterly dominated the race at Canada, and to come away without the win is definitely a bit of heartbreak for DJ Gill. Simply Superman, who was his closest title rival, was the man that ended up taking that victory in the Alfa Romeo last time out. That's his second win of the season, and so far the only repeat winner of the season. Another championship front runner in David was taken out of the race about halfway through the race, up running the alternate strategy, running up in the lead at the time, was taken out by DJ Gill, which was, I believe, caused by a desync. So it was a bit of an eventful race for our three title rivals at the moment. We'll have a look through the standings as we come into round 5 of the season. It's Simply Superman that leads the way. He's on 103 points. He now has a 22-point lead over Secret DJ Gill. So Simply Superman's off to an amazing start this season. DJ Gill's only 1 point ahead of Jan, who was on the podium once again last time out. David runs in fourth ahead of Graham. They are level on points in fourth place on 66. It's Jabu in sixth ahead of Kiki, Sean, Kieran Trapp, and Tom LD27. Rounds off the top 10 in the points so far. So, Simply Superman. We've mentioned Simply Superman probably for the last 4 seasons actually of TTML, that he's been one of those drivers that has great pace and it's never really been able to come together for him. Finally, it looks like this season he's got on top of that.
Yeah, the pace was always there, but it's the consistency that helps him out now. Even if he got handed the race win last week, but even besides that, it's just, yeah, podiums for him, I believe, almost every race now, and that's why he's in the lead. Although I think Secret DJ Jill is the faster of the two, he just brings home the most points, and yeah, that's why he is on top now.
Yeah, that is definitely why he is on top, Simply Superman, with that consistency. And while that race did kind of fall into his lap at the end of that one, you have to be in the right place at the right time in this sport. This sport is a lot about skill, but also a lot about luck. And Simply Superman definitely was in the right place to benefit from that mistake from his title rival, DJ Gill. Another thing to note, though, as well, the two Racing Point cars had good seasons in, well, Gian had a good season in season 2, was battling for the championship, had a real dip in performance last season. David was on the up last season. David's really continued on that up. Jan's regained his form, and Racing Point definitely as a team look like the most well-rounded team, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I must say they're in third and fourth position in championship now. Even despite them not having the best races so far, so that says a lot. If you didn't start off a season really well, but still you're in third and fourth position, and yeah, leading the constructors. No, not leading the constructors championship. They're level with Alfa Romeo because of the points Simply Superman and Kiki brought in this season. But yeah, they're in my opinion they're one of the strongest teams out there, because it's just the two drivers together are really strong.
Yeah, they are very, very strong. Simply Superman and Jan are currently both on a 3-race podium streak from Japan China and Canada, both of them have featured on the podium in the last 3 rounds of the season. It's only been David who took the win in China, Graham who finished second in Japan, and DJ Gill that finished third last time out in Canada. They're the only ones that haven't been on the podium at the same time, really. So it's been a real run of consistent form from those 2 drivers. We're going to run aboard though with one of the Haas cars. I think it's going to be Nelly that's going to be taking us through a lap around the Budapest circuit. So this track, all famous for qualifying, for being a difficult track to overtake on, and for tyre strategy as well. So look out for that one as he heads in towards turn 1. Misses the apex ever so slightly, but just about gets away with it as he heads down the hill towards turn 2. Another downhill hairpin this one. Really slopes away from you. You want to run it as wide as you can on the exit to maximise the speed, and Nelly does that quite nicely. Nelly, a man who really has improved his qualifying performance in recent rounds, was right up at the front at Canada before a late race front wing damage put him out of play. Big slide through turn 4, but manages to hold the car, but through turn 5 with the grass on his tyres wasn't quite able to hold the car, and that just goes to show how difficult it is to get a lap around here. If you mess up one corner, there's so many corners in quick succession here that you can easily mess up the very next one. The next driver on a lap is Ecos Brandon, who was in Division 4 last season up to Division 3, recently signed for Ecos Racing, so we'll see what he can do in the McLaren. And he's invalidated, and now he's spun in the middle part of the lap and broken his front wing, so that's 2 drivers already that have come a cropper in this qualifying session. Simply Superman it will be then. Will be the first person to set a representative time in the session. He comes through the second sector with a 52 flat. 2 pole positions already this season for Simply Superman, and 2 wins as well. Our championship leader, what can he do here at Hungary, where qualifying is all that important, as he heads up towards the final corner? A lot of long corners to end this lap. A really long final corner as he heads up towards the line. He derates a little bit before the line, but Simply Superman crosses the line with a 13.1. That's a really nice lap time for first one in the session from the Alfa Romeo driver behind him on the road. DJ Gill crosses the line 0.3 of a second behind on a 13.4. Tom across the line on the mediums, a 15.1. Not going to be right up at the front as Steve, a 14.1 in the Mercedes. Behind him is the Renault driver of Secret Dundee. He's just coming up to finish a lap. He's behind one of the Williams cars. That was Atlas Copo, who was slightly blocking Dundee towards the end of his lap. Stinner crosses the line, P3 once again, right up the front in the Ferrari, but still 0.7 of a second off pole position. His teammate Jabu comes up to the line, goes 5th on a 14.3. Next to cross the line will be Flores, currently 13th without a time. 14.9 goes into P7, and across the line comes, I believe that was Langfelber with an invalidated run. So first run's pretty much over and done with. Kiki and Hansen are the only other ones on laps as it stands. Kiki's just made a mistake and has backed off of that lap. But once again, our 2 front runners in the championship at the front of the field. Simply Superman this time around, the one that has the advantage.
Yeah, and quite a big advantage as well, I must say, for a banker lap. It's quite fast at 31. But yeah, we all have seen earlier this season, Secret DJ Gill mostly is fastest in his final run. So yeah, maybe he can repeat that and snatch pole position of Simply Superman's hand.
Yeah, anything can happen. Once again, these 2 right up at the front in qualifying. DJ Gill and Simply Superman have been the stars of qualifying this season. DJ Gill obviously taking a massive pole position last time out. I believe he was on pole by nearly 0.7 of a second in Canada. He was so fast at that track. It seems Simply Superman is the man trying to do that this time around. Hansen crosses the line in the Renault, goes P4 just behind Stinner. Another man. Stinner and Hansen kind of had similar seasons so far. They've got really strong qualifying pace, but as soon as we get into race conditions, it kind of falls apart for these 2.
Yeah, we've saw it with Hansen, I believe last race in Canada as well. His qualifying was in the top 10, but first couple of corners he already lost a couple of positions and just fell back. So qualifying pace pretty strong, but race pace not so much yet. But yeah, if your qualifying pace is high, you should be able to put together some good laps in the race as well.
Definitely should have. We've said that about a number of drivers so far in TTML Division 3 where they've not had the pace in the race, but in qualifying they're really strong. We've seen that from drivers from the likes of Funky Chicken, from David, another one that's had that kind of performance boost. Jan's another one as well, so we'll have to wait and see what they can do. David meanwhile has crossed the line, P5 on a 14.0, 5th on the grid, 0.9 of a second off of pole position at the moment. That's a big spread at the front of the field. Jan's on a lap, but he's half a second down on Simply Superman running through that second sector split. Could this be enough to put him 3rd on the grid if you can set a decent final sector? Jan, another man that has improved his qualifying recently, right up there in the championship on a 3-race pony run. Still hasn't won a race so far this season. His teammate has, but we'll see what Jan can do as he comes up towards the line. Around the final corner, towards the line comes Jan. Goes P5 on a 13.9 again. P5, but still 9/10 of a second of pole position. It's a huge gap at the front of the field. Simply Superman and DJ Jill just so far ahead of the rest of the field at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and you definitely want some free air around here because it already is a hard track, and when you're in dirty air, you get really understeery. And with the especially in the first sector, a couple of corners where you go downhill while turning into the corner, it's horrible to be in dirty air. So yeah, Secret DJ Jill and Simply Superman definitely want to take these. This first starting row and battle it out.
Yeah, definitely is working
in front of everyone else.
Yeah, working out nicely so far for them. Vapor Line crosses the line. He now goes into P5 in the Red Bull, and I believe his first race of the season in that Red Bull car. Good time from him as he pops himself right up at the front of the field. Then Ecos Brandon on another lap after spinning on his first run. He's coming through the middle sector, but he has backed off this time around, so still not a representative time on the board for the McLaren driver. Got more drivers on laps. Kiki's just started his second run in the session. Sean's crossed the line to do a 15.5 on a set of medium compound tyres, 4/10 behind Tom, who is still really yet to find his pace so far this season. Had a great end of the season last time around, just hasn't got off to the start he would have wanted to be right up there in the championship fight. Our top two on the grid at the moment, just starting their next runs in qualifying as well. I believe next across the line is going to be Kiki. I think he'll be the next person to actually finish a lap. Currently 16th on the grid without a time. Kiki, another driver who has great qualifying pace. It just hasn't ever really translated into race pace. Had a great first sector of 26.3, which was matching what we've seen from Jan earlier on, actually a 10th faster, but he's lost about 3/10 of a second to Jan in the middle part of the lap, so it's not been a great middle sector for the Alfa Romeo driver. He heads up towards the final corner, keeps it in 5th gear, interestingly. That causes him to understeer a little bit as he comes up towards the line. Kiki crosses the line, P7 on a grid of 13.9, goes just ahead of David, but still 8/10 of a second off of his teammate at the front of the field. Nelly crossing the line, one to look out for. He's improved his qualifying pace a lot recently. Steve improves to go P5. Once again, it's really close in the midfield from Stinner down to David, 3rd to 9th, separated by about a 10th and a half at the moment. It's very close between them. They're just so far off the top two at the moment.
Yeah, they are, but it's not over yet, and I was on board with, for example, Kiki for his whole lap, and as you said, his first sector was superb. His second sector, he made a big mistake in the chicane where he lost a lot of time. So some guys still should be able to improve, but 13.1 is a really, really fast time, and would prove everyone difficult to beat that time.
Yeah, DJ Jill crossed the line, didn't improve on that run. Simply Superman didn't improve either. He dived into the pit lane before we could finish that run, so even they might not be able to match their times. One person who could be getting quite close to them is Nelly, currently 20th on the grid without a time. Qualified up on the front row, I believe, last time out. Ended up finishing in the bottom end of the top 10 because of that damage we mentioned earlier on, but it was still a very good race from the Haas car as he heads up towards and through the final corner. D-rates a little bit earlier than everyone else, but towards the line comes Nelly, crosses the line, goes P3 on a 13.6, 2/10 clear as Stinner, 2/10 behind Secret DJ Jill, so he slots himself right in that gap in 3rd place, and that's kind of where Nelly's been threatening to be a lot this season, hasn't he, with his improved quali pace?
Yeah, he does, and I must say, you see his race pace improving every week as well. Last week he was well up there for a podium until he made one opportunistic move which he didn't have to make because of penalties, but yeah, his qualifying pace, he's always, I believe he started 2nd last week, so he's always up there, and his race pace improving as well. So yeah, it might be worth keeping an eye on this guy further up the season.
Yeah, definitely one to look out for as the season goes on. Stinner improved by a 10th and a half, but stays P4. Jabu found a few tenths of a second. He's up into 5th. So another man, a debut season for Jabu in the Ferrari, has had a decent season so far. Is running in the top 10 in the point standings, I believe. Currently running in 6th place. Doing a good season so far. Didn't have the best race last time out. In fact, neither Ferrari in China as well. Neither Ferrari had a good race. A bit of a disaster for them, but even so, Jabu, I believe the highest placed rookie at the moment in our championships, who's doing a very good job. Secret Dundee, another rookie this season, currently in the Renault. Didn't get off to the best start in Bahrain, but has found more and more pace as the season's gone on, trying to threaten the top 10 more often. He's up on his time by 0.2 of a second, which could put him just ahead of Felgen, but not quite into the top 10. We'll see what he can find in the final part of the lap as the Renault comes up towards the final corner, turns the car in quite nicely for turn 14. Out of the final corner and towards the line, Secret Dundee. Can he find any more time? Yes, he can. A stunning final sector there from Secret Dundee. Found half a second over his previous best, which maybe shows that he had a bit of a mistake on his previous run. Goes P5, so that's a much improved time from Secret Dundee, who's continuing to find pace.
Yeah, it is. It's Tom now in fifth place with a 13.7. Just crossed the line, so he's up there where we're used to seeing him as well. But yeah, Secret Dundee and Hansen, both rookies, I believe, this season, and yeah, I must say you can see them improve every race as well. So yeah, good stuff from them. And for drivers like that, it's a shame it's a short championship we're driving in TTML. Because sometimes you see drivers just grow into a championship and perform better halfway. You can make something up, but with 10 or 11 races in a championship, you really can't afford to be grown in there. You have to be there for just basically from the start, from race one.
Yeah, you do have to be right in there. More people improving than Hansen now onto the front row, just as we were talking about him. Goes P2 on a 13.4. Simply Superman's on another lap. Simply Superman's first lap, I think, was so good that he's not actually been able to find any time in these next two runs. Tom's unfortunately left the session. In fact, Simply Superman slightly improves in the final sector. Improves by only 0.03 of a second. So Simply Superman's first run was absolutely stunning. Hopefully Tom can get back in the lobby. Jan, another one that improved up to P5 in the Racing Point, a 13.7. It is still so close in that mid-pack. From Nelly in P4 down to Jabu in 10th. That's a 10th.5, covering those 6 drivers at the moment. Steve just outside that as well with Vaporline. And Steve, just as we talk about him, has spun coming out of turn 12 and crashed the car. So that is his session over and done with then for the Mercedes driver. Outside the top 10 already. Brandon's crossed the line, gone P13 on his next one in the session. I think Vaporline's had to back out of his lap with front wing damage as well. So this track so far, in qualifying at least, proving difficult. That's maybe the 4th or 5th time this session we've seen someone spin.
Yeah, but it really is a difficult track. Tire temperatures really play a role in even qualifying. So yeah, don't even want to know what's going to happen in the race with tire temps. And I must say, it took quite a while for the in-game stewards to get Steve out of the way, because he was really hindering a lot of people there.
Yeah, it really was. For one thing to note as well, on board with Hansen at the end of his lap, he had a bit of dirty air in the final part of the lap from Steve, so I think Hansen could go even faster on this final run if he can find the time. So wait and see what he can do. No one currently at the moment on a lap. The only person out on the track, apart from Brandon, who's coming into the pit lane, is DJ Gill. He'll be the first person to start his final run in the session. 13.4 was his first run. Hasn't been able to improve since. Can he find any time to put himself back on the front row? Or can he steal pole position off of his championship rival Simply Superman? We'll see what he can do. The man that should have won last time out in Canada, but didn't pick up the win because of a late race mistake. We've seen a few mistakes so far this season from DJ Gill. One to note as well, I believe was at China when he broke his front wing off the back of David. That was another race that he could have won that fell from his grasp. He's going to start his next run in qualifying then, as people start to come out of the pit lane, so hopefully he isn't hindered on his way down towards turn 1. Here goes Secret DJ Jill then down the pit straight, heading towards turn 1. Let's see what he can do on his lap. Brakes at about 75 metres into the corner. A little bit of a lock-up, but meets the apex nicely anyway. Shortest run on the exit of the corner, keeps it to the right-hand side for the run down the hill in towards turn 2. Hops it over the curb on the right-hand side when braking. Misses the apex a little bit and doesn't use all the road on the exit of the corner as he heads through 3 and towards the end of the first sector in the AlphaTauri. Heads up the hill and the first sector. 26.5 is way beyond the fastest we've seen, and he's invalidated coming through turn 4. So DJ Gill's final run already hampered. That is not going to be an improvement for him. He doesn't have enough time to come back in and put a fresh set of tyres on either. So DJ Gill's qualifying at the moment seems to be over, and a 26.5 first sector was 2 thousandths up on his personal best, but a good 2.5 tenths down on the best we've seen so far in this session.
Yeah, so imagine what time he could set if he didn't invalidate this lap. I don't think he has enough fuel with him to do a second run, but yeah, that's qualifying over for him, and chances for guys like Hansen or maybe even Nelly, if he can get a good improvement, to jump him.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do, whether he can put himself towards the front of the field. He's the next person to start a final run in qualifying. Then currently fourth on the grid, started on the front row last time out. First sector, half a second down, so he's not going to be finding any time on this run. That's not a good first sector from the Hasco. Looks like he may have made a mistake coming out of turn one, so that is not the time he would have wanted. He's pushing on still, just to see if he can find any more time. We'll see what he can do, but he runs into the grass coming out the chicane, and this lap's been a bit of a mess, unfortunately, for Nelly. So that's third and fourth place on the grid, ruining their final runs as it stands. They're not going to be finding any more time in this session. More people starting their final runs, both Ferraris now on their final run, as is Secret Dundee. Jabu currently 10th, Secret Dundee 9th, Stinner currently 6th. Stinner, another man who's been at the front recently, third on the grid in both of the previous 2 rounds of the season. Not found any time in the first sector on this one at least, but the middle sector is where you do tend to find the majority of the time, so we'll stick with the Ferrari driver as he heads up towards this complex of corners. One slight mistake and it can ruin the whole run through the middle part of the lap. He was very aggressive over the sausage curbs at the chicane, but got away with it as he heads through the middle part of the lap. Little bit of traffic in front of him that shouldn't get in the way. Secret Dundee behind, having to deal with a bit of traffic on his lap. Stinner towards the end of the first sector, nearly 2/10 up, so it's found a good amount of time in the middle part of the lap. 13.7 currently. That 2/10 could put him fourth on the grid. DJ has retired in the pit lane. He will not be finding any more time. Nelly's gone for another run on the same set of tyres, so keep an eye on him whether he can improve. Stinner then around the final corner, currently 6th on the grid with a 13.7. Where can he put that Ferrari on the grid? He goes P4 with a 13.5 and a 2/10 improvement in that Ferrari. Not a bad lap from him as across the line comes Secret Dundee. He goes P8 on a 13.7. So drivers finding a little bit of time. Not loads at the moment. Tom's starting and it's his final run. Jabu crosses the line, goes up into P5 in the second Ferrari, so good lap from him. And I don't know if that is just the Ferraris moving out the way down the pit straight at the moment, but good lap from the 2 Ferrari drivers, 4th and 5th currently.
Yeah, and it really helps. Even if they're in a party with each other, you can really help each other out around this track because it already is difficult to attack. So you can always defend your teammate, and you have defense of your teammate. So yeah, great position so far from these guys.
Hansen, second on the grid, has retired on the track after a crash. Simpson Superman has crashed at the same corner as Felgen has crashed. So a lot of drivers going off on their final runs. Vapor Lion up towards the line. Nelly's into the pit lane. He's not improved. Flores stays 18th. Lion crosses the line, goes P9. 1,000th behind David, who is on another lap at the moment, but that is very close. In the mid, pack across the line went Kiki, only 14th on the grid. For the Alfa Romeo driver, not the time he would have wanted. One of the Williams next to cross the line, that's Atlas Copo, who goes only 17th on the grid so far. Langfell has invalidated his final run, so he'll be starting dead last on the grid. Will the Williams driver, who's had such good races so far this season that haven't provided the results he would have wanted. Up towards the line comes Sean, currently 16th on the grid, goes 14th with a 10th.5 improvement. Up to the line now comes David, 8th on the grid currently, goes P6 ahead of his teammate and ahead of Nelly, just into that 6th place on the grid, and that looks like it's everyone's lap times over and done with. So no one really inside the top 3 could make any improvements. In fact, no one inside the top 3 can make any improvements. It's the 2 Ferraris in the end are the ones that gained on those final runs, and Simply Superman, that first run in qualifying was more than enough to secure him pole position.
Yeah, it was, even though, yeah, he had an improvement of, was it, 200ths of a second or something. But even if he didn't improve on his lap, it was, yeah, well enough, 3/10 in front of Hansen. So, yeah, quali over, and there's a little gap between P1 and P2, but behind that, it's really close.
It is still really close. I think we've got a little bit of a lobby glitch here because Tom's managed to get out of the pit lane after the timer has expired. So he obviously did leave the session a little bit earlier on in the qualifying. So that is probably why that has happened. So we will have a little bit of a delay before the timer runs out, it seems. So we'll just run you through the grid now before it pops up on the screen. So Simply Superman then on the front row on pole position for the 3rd time out of 5 races this season. It's Hansen on the front row with him this time around. DJ Gill 3rd on the grid. A good qualifying again from DJ Gill, but not quite what he would have wanted. Wasn't able to improve on his first run in the session. Stinner and Jabu 4th and 5th for the Ferraris, ahead of David in 6th. Nelly 7th, ahead of Jan in 8th in the Racing Point. Vapor Lion 9th. Secret Dundee rounds off the top 10. Tom currently 11th and will stay 11th on the grid as it stands in that Alpha Tauri. He's just ahead of Ecos Brandon. It's Steve in 13th, ahead of Sean 14th. Kiki 15th. Graham 16th, ahead of Atlas Copo, Felgen, Flores and Langfell round off the grid. And at the back of the field, 2 big names really that stand out at the back. Langfell dead last on the grid, and Graham only 16th.
Yeah, not what we used to see, but we know from Langfell that with alternate strategies he can turn his race around. So starting 20th for him, yeah, it's obviously not what you want, but yeah, we know he can pull back together, get his head down, and put in some good times with on the alternate strategy. And Graham, yeah, normally Mr. Consistent, up in well, yeah, fifth, sixth position in quali and in the race as well, even had a podium. So yeah, not really used to see Graham down so far.
Yeah, definitely not used to seeing it. Unfortunately, the lobby isn't for some reason ending in qualifying, so hopefully we can find a way to get into contact with Tom to tell him to retire, because that should fix the lobby, hopefully. But at the moment, at least, he's just driving around the track on his own, it seems. So we'll wait and see whether he is able to retire from the session. We'll wait and see. But at the moment, at least, it is the Alfa Romeo driver, our championship leader, on pole position once again. Thomas unfortunately left the session, so fingers crossed that doesn't cause any problems in the race. But there we go. That is qualifying officially over and done with. About 2 minutes after it should have been finished, it has now finished. So there we go. There is a run through for the order then. Simply Superman on pole by 0.3 of a second from DJ Hansen and DJ Jill, Stinner, Jabu, David, Nelly, Jan, Vaporline and Dundee, your top 10. 0.6 of a second then covers the top 10 after qualifying. Not a bad split in field after the first runs. It did look like the field was going to be incredibly split, but it just seemed like Simply Superman and DJ Jill at the first runs reached their peak almost immediately.
Yeah, it's just maybe one-shot quali is the way to go for them. Their first runs always really fast.
Yeah, definitely seemed like that. Maybe that is the way forward for them. They're going to want to try and maybe maybe try and push for that a little bit. Yeah. Maybe for next season, maybe try and push for one-shot quality to be a thing, because they definitely do succeed, it seems, in those kind of situations. But yeah, championship leader on pole for the third time this season then. And now we've got to talk about the race here. So obviously the top 10 starting on the soft compound tyres, but the soft compound tyres around this track, incredibly difficult in race conditions, aren't they? It's just so easy to overheat that front left tyre.
Yeah, the front left tyre is, after, what is it, 5 laps, it's basically done. There's not much speed to get out of there. They overheat so quickly. Tyre wear is incredible here. So yeah, maybe another race for guys like Jan to just prove me wrong and go on like 10 laps on the softs.
Yeah, could definitely be the case. One thing to note here as well, starting outside the top 10 on a set of mediums, on a track where it's difficult to overtake, isn't actually that bad of a thing, because the alternate strategy is very powerful around the circuit, and if we do get a late safety car, that could really play into the hands. We've already seen about 4 or 5 drivers crash in qualifying so far, so it just goes to prove that it is very difficult to keep the car on the road around this circuit, especially with the high temperatures we've got, and it looks like there's barely any cloud cover, so the drivers are really going to be struggling with tyre overheating. The majority of drivers that are on the soft top and tyres, you would imagine, will go to the hards after their first stint and do the one-stop strategy, but even then, it's still difficult to get to hards at the end of the race, isn't it? You've got to get the soft tyres to about lap 7 or about lap 8 if you really want to take those hards to the end of the race.
Yeah, that's how horrible tyre wear is around here. It's kind of like what's the track? China. You can't pit too early for the hards. I mean, the hards are the most long-lasting tires you can go for. But around this track, with this tire degradation and these temperatures that build up in the tires, even for the hard ones to go to the end, you have to nurse them somehow. So, yeah, really important to get some clean air. And don't battle too hard, because your tires will only get hotter because of that.
Yeah, they will only get hotter, like you say. You can't push too hard for the battles here, and even if you do push, you can waste DRS around this track, and actually for a track where there's not a lot of straights, to use up the ERS, it's actually pretty difficult to save ERS around this circuit, so that's going to be one thing to note as well in this race. It just like we're not going to get weather affected by the looks of things. It is nice and sunny, so a nice dry race. Looking at the drivers outside of the top 10, what they're starting on, everyone outside the top 10 is starting on the mediums, apart from Sean in 14th and Langfell last on the grid. Sean, not really surprised, are we, because he does start on the hards every time pretty much he's outside the top 10 unless the strategy says otherwise. And Langfell as well, he's starting last on the grid. He's got literally nothing to lose. He may as well try something different.
Yeah, the only thing you have to be a bit lucky that if someone in front of you crashes, you don't get caught up by it, because starting on the hards and having early wing damage is just destroying your strategy. But yeah, hards I think isn't that bad of a choice. And Sean, I actually, as you said, didn't expect anything else from him of starting on the hardest tire.
Yeah, definitely not a shock that he's gone for that. And this track, unlike Canada, where he did start, I believe, on a different set of compounder tyres, he won't struggle too much this time around to hold track position because it is notoriously difficult to overtake around this circuit. But everyone's then coming around turn 14, the final corner, getting ready for the start of the Hungarian GP. Hopefully this race gets underway without any sort of issue. We'll wait and see. Tom, I think, is back in the lobby, so we'll wait and see. It looks like we are getting ready for the lights to come on ahead of our drivers, and Simply Superman and Hansen are the drivers on the front row. We just wait for the lights to come on ahead of the drivers. Here they go then. Simply Superman versus Hansen. It is Alfa Romeo versus Renault on the front row. Lights are out and away they go, and it looks a fairly even start at the front of the field. Simply Superman already trying to move to cover off Hansen, which he's done so. In the background, the two Racing Points driving side by side, coming down towards turn 1, and in towards turn 1 we go then. It is going to be Simply Superman that leads away from Hansen, but Hansen runs a little bit wide coming out of turn 1. Tom's unfortunately left the session once again. DJ Jill making contact there with Stinner coming down towards turn 2, and then trying to attack Hansen in towards turn 2 is the AlphaTauri driver. Hansen's going to hold the inside line for turn 3. They still run side by side, but that's a brilliant move from DJ Jill. Aggressive down the inside of 2, held it around the outside of turn 3, and he's up into second place as Jan and Stinner running side by side through turn 4. That is brave there from those two drivers. Jan has to sit in 5th place for the time being, but it's been a good start from the Racing Point man, who started this one in 6th. He's up to 5th place. Jabu has dropped to 7th behind Nelly as well, so not a good start from the second Ferrari. Dundee's up into 8th from 10th on the grid. He's had a good start. He's passed Vaporline and David. David's dropped at the start of this race down to 9th place. Graham, the lead driver on the medium tyres, up from 16th on the grid, already into 11th, so it's been a great start from Graham on that alternate strategy. Kiki has had a crash at the start of this race. He's the man at the back of the field.
Yeah, incredible stuff from Graham, and Langfell as well on the hard tyres, already up to P17s from starting that last. So yeah, some guys had some great starts, and I must say, Secret DJ Jill didn't wanna mess about and just got the overtakes done as early as possible, and now only has Simply Superman, his main rival in the championship, in front of him.
Yeah, that is a great start from DJ Joe. That's exactly what he needed to do. He didn't want to get stuck behind Hansen if Hansen was going to lose time to Simply Superman in front. But already the top 3 look like they're starting to gap Stinner in 4th place. He held that 4th place just from Jan in behind. But Jan looking racy on this first lap in that Racing Point, doing what he needs to do to keep himself in the championship battle as they go through the first sector. Then Nelly up into 6th place. A good start from him in the Haas. Jabu, the man that's lost out of those drivers that started in the top 5, down to 7th place at the moment. We've got to keep an eye out though on those medium compound runners to see what they can do. And at the moment, Graham keeping nicely to the back of his teammate. He's got Steve right behind him. These two, the lead drivers on this alternate strategy as it stands. Brandon's just in behind in the McLaren as well. Sean's still up in 14th place. He's not lost any places on track in terms of position, at least. He's passed Tom's AO car, but lost out to Graham at the start. And Nelly already with a time penalty on lap 2. That goes to show how difficult it is to keep the car on the road around this circuit. And that's one thing we've not touched on. Time penalties around this circuit are going to play a crucial part in this race.
Yeah, could be a decided factor, just like on tracks like Canada we saw last week, where it's really easy to pick up penalties. Hungary is a track like that as well, as finally after 3 laps the timing glitch just ended on my side, so I'm really glad about that. Now I know where everybody's driving and what the gaps are. But yeah, penalties can be decisive in this race.
Yeah, they definitely can. Simply Superman, crucially for his race so far, has broken that 1 second window to DJ Jill. But we saw this last time out in Canada. DJ Jill pushed very early on to break the DRS and then wore out his tyres too quickly and was re-caught. So we wonder if Simply Superman has maybe done the same thing. This track, another one that's so hard on the tyres, so it's so easy to overcook them early on in the race. DJ Jill already starting to come back as Brandon now the next driver with a time penalty, currently 13th in the running order. The first driver that's really struggling inside the top 5 after DJ Jill at the moment to keep up with the driver in front is Jan, after a great start up into 5th place. At least at this point in the race, he just doesn't seem to have the pace. The drivers around it. DJ Jill, he's spun coming out of turn 9, has dropped the car completely, and that is a full safety car. Now this is really difficult for these driver strategies, because this is too early to pit for a set of hards and go to the end of the race on that set of hards unless the safety car stays out for 4 or 5 laps. So this is going to be really interesting. Do the soft runners come in or do they stay out? Hansen is coming in, Stinner's coming in as well, Jan's coming in, Nelly's coming in. The only one I think that stayed out was our race leader, Simply Superman.
Yeah, he was the only one staying out, and I think he's gonna regret it. But it's a really, as you said, it's really, it's too early to pit now. But it's really difficult as the Ferraris both go in, so they double stack, and it's gonna cost Jabu heaps of time here. But yeah, Simple Superman only one staying out, and the rest look like they're going for the hards. Oh, a couple of medium drivers, like guys like Jen and Nelly. So they probably think there's gonna be another safety car, and they can pit on a different tire after that. Maybe the mediums again.
Definitely interesting that they've gone for the medium compound tyres, because they're now running basically the same strategy as a lot of drivers in front, just a lot further down on the road. So I think if I was one of these drivers and came into the pits, I would have gone for the hards, because you can at least try and get to the end, and if there's another safety car you can still pit as well. So it seems like those that pitted for the hards are covering off both strategies, at least at this point in the race. Jan has managed to jump Stinner in the pit stop, so has Nelly, so Ferrari's really dropped badly in that pit stop phase. In fact, Jabu has dropped all the way down to 18th on the road, behind Atlas Copo and Tom, who both pitted from the mediums onto the hards. Tom was running in 19th place, and Jabu's dropped behind him, so that is a disaster for Jabu in the pit lane that he's had to deal with that. Simply Superman, the only soft runner that stayed out on the track, so he doesn't think that those hard tyres are going to get to the end of the race. So now we've got to keep our eye on Hansen, who is our lead person of the drivers who have pitted. He's got Jan in behind. If Jan wants to make the strategy work, he's got to get past Hansen immediately and get ahead of most of these medium runners, hasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely needs a safety car restart. Like, yeah, DJ Jill started this race, just get in front of Hansen. But even the guys in front of Hansen, like Langfeld, he has to pass him as well, and win as many positions as he can. Because, yeah, if he doesn't, it's just he's on the same strategy as the guys in front. So there's not much to gain after that.
Yeah, definitely very surprised that some of these guys have gone for the mediums, considering it is so difficult to overtake around this circuit. Jan has to make another pit stop, and if he wants to make this strategy work, he's going to have to get up to where Graham is, and then have to pass the hard runners later on in the race. So, going to be a difficult one here for Jan in the championship. That fourth podium in a row looking pretty unlikely, but you've got to say that Simply Superman's fourth podium in a row looking pretty unlikely with this strategy staying out now. He's got to go a little bit longer, go on the hards, and he's going to have to push through the field, which is going to be so difficult to do around this circuit.
Yeah, it is, but the other thing is, when you're driving behind the safety car, tire degradation isn't that bad, and tire temps are not moving up. So yeah, maybe he has confidence. He can try something else, and yeah, have some more rubber left for racing at the end of the final couple laps of this race.
Maybe, yeah, he might have paid a blinder here, and everyone else might get a puncture and he might not, so we'll wait and see what he is able to pull off with this strategy. It's going to be very difficult for him, though. He's going to have to do a lot of overtaking in this race. This now shines a light as well on all our medium runners who started on those tyres. They're going to have to go a little bit further in and then hope that they, like Simply Superman, are able to charge through the field. And this has put probably a fire under the butt of Graham in this race, who started this race in 16th, now runs second after 5 laps. So it's been a bit of a crazy start for the Red Bull driver in this one so far. DJ Jill's crash, at least for him, one solace he can take from this race is at the moment his two closest championship rivals in Jan and Simply Superman, both on the back foot themselves as well after that safety car period. So DJ Jill's crash has actually hurt both of his championship rivals so far. So that is going to be one thing to note. Safety car is in this lap, and Simply Superman looks like it was going to go went and then brakes before the final corner, and Graham nearly very caught out by it, gets away with it, but Steve was able to react to that as well. So he's looking in behind the Red Bull man, who goes to defend towards turn 1. Sean in the other Mercedes having a look at Brandon in front of him as well. Steve not able to go for the move. Sean trying to go around the outside of turn 1 on Brandon, will make it the inside for turn 2. Can he get the run down towards the corner, or is Brandon able to hold on to that position? They go into turn 2. There's very nearly contact between the two. They just about get away with it, and Brandon is just about going to hold on to that 4th place from Sean behind. Simply Superman needs. Graham holds 2nd, Brandon holds 4th for the time being, and further back Hansen has fallen behind Jan and Nelly already.
Oh, and there's another spinner. I think there was Atlas Copo. There was a brief yellow.
Yeah, brief yellow for him. He's broken his front wing, actually, so he's made contact with the wall somewhere, maybe coming out of turn 2. But Atlas Copo, after making an early pit stop off the mediums onto the hards, another race that hasn't gone his way, as Vapor Lion has spun as well on the fresh set of medium tyres. He's spun coming out of the chicane and dropped down to 18th place. So a lot of drivers really struggling to keep the car on the road at the moment. That's 2 drivers as well, completely out of the way of all the people that are still yet to pit in this race. Jan crucially doing what he needs to do to get past Hansen. Nelly done the same as well, but now they've got a blockade of cars in front.
Yeah, Secret Dundee picks up his first penalty as well, 3 seconds, and Viper Lion as well. He spun, he was in the grass and reset the track, and yeah, reset the track just puts you down on the racing line, while cars still wanted to pass him. So I could imagine that's really off-putting for the guys. So probably going to be investigated. But so far, Simply Superman seems faster than Graham and has a gap of 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, definitely 1.2. He's doing a good job at the moment on those softs. He's not struggling for pace, but he's not going to have a lot of tyre percentages left in those before he reaches puncture territories. He's going to have to come in at least maybe sometime before lap 10. If he goes any further than that, I'll be astonished. As into the pits comes Vaporline and Atlas Copper to replace their front wing and put on another set of hard compound tyres. Stinner now with the time penalty at the moment. Once everyone pits, Stinner and Dundee are running in a net P2 and P3 in this race. So that it's going to be really crucial for them. That means David could jump 2 places. And Tom as well was right in there as Stinner. I think has made a mistake coming out the chicane because Secret Dundee's side by side with him as they come through the middle part of the lap, and Stinner over the curb on the exit of the corner. Can't keep the car facing the right way. Has to drop behind Dundee. So now it's technically a Renault 1-2 in this race, as Nelly's another one who's picked up a time penalty. Hansen, leader of the drivers that's pitted. Secret Dundee now runs in second place of those drivers. But David and Tom here sitting pretty without penalties. Tom was 19th earlier on in this race. Has disconnected from the lobby twice already, and now is staring at a possibility of a podium.
Yeah, and that's the luck you were talking about earlier on, that you have to be where you are, and yeah, he's in the net. What is it for that P5 so far without any penalties? It's early on in the race, so he can pick up. Let's hope he doesn't. But yeah, still after all this bad luck he had, he's up there.
Yeah, meanwhile, further up the field, this is not what these drivers need to be doing, but Nelly's now battling with Jan, and Nelly goes completely off the road at turn 3, trying to go around the outside of the corner, can't make it stick, and gets another penalty on the very next lap. So Nelly pushing a little bit too hard, running the car off the track. Jan and Nelly, exactly what we predicted in the fact that they've put on the medium tyres, and because they're not that much fresher than the drivers in front, they don't have a massive pace advantage, and they just can't get through the pack of drivers in front.
Yeah, they can, and at the moment Nelly seems a bit faster than Janne, but yeah, if it's incredibly hard here, and he's just taking some lines that aren't there because he already has 9 seconds of penalties. I believe it was his 3rd penalty he picked up. So yeah, it's better to stay behind the car than pick up that many penalties, as he's struggling with his tires in the second to last corner there. So they're already starting to heat up.
Yeah, one thing to note here as well, Graham is now caught Simply Superman, so that pace he had at the safety car restart has now dwindled, and you can see that understeering through turn 1. Graham thinking about a move but not close enough, and Graham doesn't necessarily want to go for a move because he knows Simply Superman's going to be coming in, and if he makes the move and makes a hash of it, Steve is right there to pounce. So they're all starting to climb over Simply Superman, who is struggling on those tyres. Flores is going to be the lead of the queue of drivers that's dropped off the back of this group ever so slightly. Sean's still right up there on his hard compound tyres as Brandon gets another penalty in this race in that McLaren. That's his 2nd penalty of the race so far. Simply Superman, though, really struggling with those soft tyres now. You've got to say, this lap now, he's got to come in for a set of hards.
Yeah, he really needs to. He's losing so much time. He's understeering everywhere, and if he isn't careful, he's just going to lose them on traction somewhere. Especially corners like this, where he's coming through now, where your car can get a bump if you run over the curbs too far. So yeah, losing too much time. Now he's holding up Graham, but yeah, I think it's the best choice to come in now and put on those hard tyres.
Yeah, and into the pits he comes then. So Simply Superman at the end of lap 9 in from the soft compound tyres, but he is going to be quite a way off the back of his teammate who is at the very back of that queue. So that is going to be a difficult second half of this race for Simply Superman. We'll wait and see what the gap is, but pace-wise he's not going to have that much of an advantage. He's going to have to hope that these drivers really struggle with their tyres at the end of the race. Graham then now leads from 16th on the grid. Lap 10, he's the leader of the race. Steve is right behind him. Brandon there as well. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. I think that is just a yellow flag for Lyle, maybe, who's gone off the road a little bit. The Red Bull, but Graham now leads. Sean's right up there on the hard compound tyres as well, and still Jan hasn't been able to find a way through the pack. He was thinking about moving, just can't find a way through. He's not been able to gap any of the hard runners behind, and this strategy you can clearly see already is not working.
Yeah, it is, but it is incredibly hard. Everyone's still in. Oh, Nelly went round.
Out turn 5, so easy to drop the car at this circuit. That, I think, is our 5th spinner of the race. Nelly has now spun to the back of the field. That is him now behind Simply Superman on the track. So Nelly's race has fallen apart with that mistake. Nelly with 3 time penalties already as well, and now cooked mediums. That is a disaster for Nelly in this race. Then down to 17th place, Simply Superman, by the way, 10 seconds behind his teammate. That is a big gap. He's going to have to try and make up. He is the fastest man on the track, but we're going to have to keep an eye on whether he can work his way through. And now on the back of Langfell, thinking about a move coming out the last corner, still just not close enough. And the problem here for Jan is if he pitted now, he would come out a good 5 or 6 seconds behind Simply Superman.
Yeah, he does. Oh, he goes here on the inside line, trying to hold it together, and
about for the leader. Steve's gone down the inside of turn 2. Down the inside of turn 2, round the outside of turn 3. Graham trying to keep it on the inside, but Steve picks up a penalty on the exit of turn 3, but Steve passes Graham and is now into the lead of the race. So he's now the lead person on the alternate strategy. Graham had a great start, but at least on the medium compound tires at this point of the race, it just doesn't seem as fast as the drivers around him.
Yeah, he doesn't, but now I don't think Steve is that much faster than Graham. Obviously he is a bit faster because he overtook him. But if he can keep can stay behind Steve and clean of penalties, which is kind of becoming his trademark in Division 3, yeah, he's in a really good position.
Yeah, definitely in a good position if he can keep that up. Jan did get the move done on Langfell, so his next target is Flores, and Flores won't have DRS to help himself defend, so can Jan get through Flores quicker than he was able to do on Langfell? We'll wait and see what he can do, but Flores is on those medium tyres, so he'll have a little bit of a pace advantage over Langfell behind, so we'll see what Jan can do. I don't think it's going to be close enough out of the final corner to the Haas in front. Doesn't look like it as they head down the pit straight. Jan, though, using up his ERS to try and do so. He's burning that battery, and he is going to breeze past Flores, who's quite slow in a straight line. Jan, though, without any ERS already, that's really going to hinder him. He's up to 6th, but he's still got 4 medium runners in front of him that he has to pass.
Yeah, and I don't think he still has to close down a gap of 2 seconds without any ERS. He used up basically everything he had to make the overtake happen of Flores. So yeah, first I have to see him coming onto the back of these guys, and there's only a 3-lap tire difference between these guys. So yeah, he needs to overtake them all to be in the position he wants to.
Yeah, Nelly's coming to the pit lane for a 2nd lap in a row, so I don't know if he's had a spin or whether this is him retiring from the race. We'll wait and see, but it's not been a good race, unfortunately, for Nelly down towards the back of the field. Secret Dundee with another penalty in this race. That's only going to further help the drivers behind. It's currently, of all the people that's pitted, it's currently Hansen who is our net race leader. We were talking earlier on about he's got great quali pace. He just needs to improve in the race consistency. At the moment, he's doing a good job in that Renault, trying to keep it on the road, looking at possibly his first win of the season. His biggest rivals at this point in the race, though, you've got to say, are David and Tom, who run in a net 2nd and 3rd after the penalties are added.
Yeah, they are, and but Hansen still clean of penalties, so that's a good thing for him. But yeah, has to be patient now. Has to really only to calculate the stuff, because if he makes a mistake in Hansen, Brendan.
Yeah, and another spinner. Brendan then coming out of turn 1 has spun. He's not got any damage on the car, but that is our 6th different spinner in this race, as he drops from what was P3 on the road, now down to 14th. By the way, we were talking earlier on about Graham maybe being a little bit slower than Steve. Steve's actually managed to gap Graham by 2 seconds, so Steve at this point in the race has got some speed.
Yeah, he does. I really was hoping you didn't notice, because it only took him 3 laps, but proving me, wrong again. But yeah, Steve's just flying. Really likes this track, and that's what we're talking about. In past races as well. Race winners here can be decided by just favoring a track because it's so close. So maybe this is one of Steve's favorite tracks, and performing really, really well so far.
Yeah, doing a very good job, like you say. Currently in the lead of the race. Not far away as well from the medium runners coming in for a set of hards, if that's the strategy they'll go for. By the way, Simply Superman, his tyres then are 6 laps younger than the hard runners around him. Obviously, 3 of those 6 laps of those drivers that started on the hards were under the safety car. But Simply Superman, in 3 laps, has halved the gap between himself and his teammates. So Simply Superman absolutely flying, over a second a lap faster than the rest of the hard runners in the field at the moment. Gotta say though, the hard runners are all kind of stuck at the moment behind Flores and Langfell at this point in the race, so they're not really able to get their foot down. It's now all about when Simply Superman catches the back of this queue, if he can pass any of them. The first one is his teammate. You wouldn't imagine Kiki is going to put too much of a fight up against his teammate, but once he reaches the back of Jabu and Tom, that's going to be the real fight for Simply Superman.
Yeah, it is. I don't think Kiki is gonna hold him up massively, as the gap now down to 4.6 seconds. But yeah, Brandon, not what. Yeah, I think Brandon is gonna come in between now and maybe 2-3 laps. But Jabu in front of him, Jabu and Tom, he really has to battle his way through there, and yeah, it's gonna prove him difficult. But we've seen Simply Superman doing some great stuff, so yeah, who knows, maybe he's feeling really racy today and passing everybody like running a hot knife through butter.
Maybe that could be the case, and we know the power of fresh tyres around this track is very, very strong. Another thing to note, Steve's gap over Graham now 3 seconds, so Steve absolutely flying at this point in the race. Sean is now starting to catch Graham as well on his hard compound tyres, so Sean doing a really good job as Brandon's retired in the pit lane, unfortunately, so that is his race over and done with no points scored. Now, this is one thing that's going to be really interesting to note for the rest of this race. Langfell on the hard compound tyres currently runs in 7th, still heads up this train that's stuck a little bit behind Flores. Flores staying out, as you can expect for this point in the race. He's still got Langfell right behind, but Langfell can go until about lap 20-21 and put on a set of medium compound tyres. Sean here is going to have to hope that Langfell and Flores really hold up the drivers behind. Same for Graham and Steve as well. But at the moment, Flores and Langfell doing a great job of holding this queue of cars up so that the gap between the likes of Steve and Graham and then the rest of the pack once they pit is not going to be as big as it would have been.
No, definitely. I mean, Flores, I've been on board with him for a couple of laps now, or just parts of a lap, and what he's really doing good here in the corners, he's not as fast as the guys behind him, but in the traction zones where it really matters and where overtaking opportunities are, he's got some really good traction there, even though he's a bit slower in the straight line, and that's how he can keep everyone behind. And another yellow flag.
That's Nelly retiring in the pit lane, unfortunately. Sets the fastest lap on the previous lap. He was a lap down, though, so his race is over and done with. Now we've got a fight for 5th on the road. Langfell looking for a move past Flores around the outside of turn 1. Can he get that move done? Flores trying to squeeze him onto the curb. Langfell doesn't get the best run out of the corner. Now Hansen's trying to think about a move. Coming down the outside of turn 2. This is a risky move for Hansen, who was our net race leader around the outside of Langfell. Can Langfell hold on to it? Hansen with better grip around the outside of the corner. Langfell has to back out of it, but he's going to have the inside line for turn 4. He does decide to back out the move. No, Dundee thought about a move as well. Wasn't quite close enough, but Hansen gets the move done on Langfell, but gets a time penalty in the process as well. So now the advantage swings towards David, who was still right in this battle. By the way, Felgen pitted, came out 15th and 11 seconds behind Simply Superman, who was nearly already on the back of this queue of cars.
Yeah, doing really good, but yeah, once again, Flores, some incredible defending there, really kept it clean, but is fighting hard and clean. And yeah, now you can see one mistake of Langfell trying to overtake, one mistake and he gets overtaken. That's how difficult it is, and that's why every move has to count, as Hansen's now really close and looking for a move on Flores.
Flores dives into the pit lane. Then there was a little bit of contact between Hansen and Flores into the penultimate corner, but they got away with it. Hansen then will pass Flores, who comes into the pits. Steve has also come into the pits for a set of hard compound tyres, as you would expect. He was our race leader, so we'll see where he comes out relative to the queue of cars. Atlas Copo has crashed at the chicane. Now, what does that do in terms of safety car? Does that bring anything out? At the moment, at least, nothing has been triggered, so it looks like we might be safe from another safety car. Hansen now with that time penalty. What is crucial for Hansen's race here is that he now gaps the rest of the people that are pitted behind. Dundee and Stinner running in at 2nd and 3rd. They both have penalties. Crucial for Dundee that he holds this pack of cars up behind and gives Hansen the opportunity to win this race despite the penalty.
Yeah, this is really where team play comes into the race. If Dundee wants to help Hansen, he needs to hold up David. David, the only one who didn't get a penalty yet. So yeah, if Dundee can do that, and still, then he still can be on a podium position if Stinner and David start to fight. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Just further up in the race, I think.
Yeah, one thing to note as well here, Simply Superman has got past his
Brain is
teammate.
in.
Oh, and Tom makes a mistake coming out the penultimate corner and basically moves out of both Alfa Romeo's ways. So Tom, running in a net third on penalties, falls now behind Simply Superman and Kiki. Graham into the pits. Steve came out of the pit lane only 3 seconds behind this queue of cars, so that actually worked out quite nicely for Steve, who has much fresher tyres than anyone in front. And as I say, that has just unfortunately left the session, which is such a shame. I feel like every time I talk about someone, I jinx them completely. But Steve has now left, so that means that Graham now has an opportunity, but he's about 8.5 seconds off the back of this queue. As I was saying, Simply Superman passed his teammate, and then Tom, with a little mistake out the penultimate corner, basically moves out the way for Simply Superman, who's still got an opportunity of winning this race.
Yeah, incredible stuff, and yeah, maybe the same happens to Jabu, David Stinner. You don't know. Sometimes just some really weird stuff happens during a race which you can't explain, and yeah, maybe simply Superman is our biblical figure who could part the sea.
He definitely could be the man. Let's see what he can do as he closes up on the back of Jabu at the moment. In the lead is Sean then on those hard compound tyres. Still leading. Jan's right behind. Steve has rejoined the lobby. He's not lost the place on track at least, so still has a good opportunity if he can get back in control of that car. Sean then leading. 18 Apple hard compound tyres. You would imagine he's going to go a couple laps longer and then put on a set of mediums. He wasn't that far behind Graham. In fact, he was tucked right up behind Graham, so when he comes into the pit lane, he'll come out maybe just behind Graham or just behind Felgen, depending on how good the pit stop is for Sean. But Sean, on a set of medium compound tyres towards the end of the race, he could also be a threat, as could Jan, who will drop to the back of the field, but he will most likely also put on another set of medium compound tyres.
Yeah, I think so. That's the only right thing to do for Jan. It wouldn't be, at least I think, he can't take these tyres to put on the softs, and even if you put on the softs, they're just dying really, really fast. So probably these guys go in around the same time, and yeah, mediums on Sean is like everybody else running on softs. He's so used on running harder tires than everyone else that it's going to be a relief for him putting on those mediums.
Yeah, definitely going to be nice to see what he can do on those tyres then. Currently leading the race. There is obviously a bit of a timing glitch as Steve has rejoined the lobby. Still running in 12th, hasn't been passed by Graham, but he has lost a few seconds to the back of the queue of cars in front, so hopefully he can now start to reclose that gap on his fresh hard compound tyres. His hard compound tyres 13 laps younger than those that pitted under the safety car, so that could pay real dividends for him as well in this race. Simply Superman still right in this queue, but now that he's caught the back of Jabu, it's a bit of a queue in front, and that's really going to cost him in this race. His only saving grace at this point in the race is when Langfeld decides to come into the pit lane off of his set of hard compound tyres as well, so that will be an opportunity opening up for him. Meanwhile, battle for the lead here as Jan's trying to go around the outside of turn 2 on Sean here. These two battling nicely as around the outside of the corner goes Jan, who will have the inside for turn 3. He's going to have a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact with Sean as they come up towards turn 4, and Sean decides to back out of it. Jan takes the lead of the race. Sean drops into second place. Now Jan has got to try and build a gap on Sean and then pit before him so that he isn't jumped by the Mercedes.
Yeah, I was really, really scared these guys wanted to go side by side in, I don't know the corner number to be honest. But is it 4 or 5?
Yeah, turn 3 and turn 4 I believe, yeah.
Yeah, which is really, really hard to do, but ooh, as Sean goes really wide now, so he's struggling in some dirty air of Jan. But yeah, incredible stuff, and Sean and Jan, I'm not sure, but I think they can, if they come in now, they probably come out between Felgen and Flores, I believe.
They probably would come out between those two. They stayed out for another lap for the time being at least. So Jan goes on to lap 21 in the lead of this race. Sean just behind. Hansen is closing in quickly. Langfell's into the pits from 4th place. So that opens up that queue in the mid pack of the field. Then David thinking about a move on Stinner towards turn 1. Is he going to be close enough to have a diver down the inside of the Ferrari? Not quite. Simply Superman thinking about the same on Jabu as well, but can't quite get the move done on the Ferrari. So they stay in the places they were in. David gets a good run out of turn 1, but again just isn't close enough to make the move stick for 5th place, but he still has that penalty advantage over the drivers in front as it stands. Then Hansen, his gap now over his teammate 2.8 seconds, so that is enough at this point, with both Dundee and Stinner having 6 seconds of penalties. David's too far back, so at the moment at least it's working out nicely for Hansen.
Yeah, Secret Dundee being the good teammate today and held up Stinner and David. If he can keep the gap around 2.5 seconds, then Hansen is safe of David. Could be a little bit bigger or smaller the gap, but if he can keep up this gap, he's really helping Hansen securing the first position.
Yeah, really going to be helping his teammate. Now, do our leaders come into the pits? No, they don't. They stay out for another lap. Now, this is getting interesting because they are losing time hand over fist now to the drivers behind. Now that Langfeld's pitted as well, that's obviously released the drivers in the midfield. These guys are starting to lose time, and if they wait for too long, they run the risk of being jumped by Flores and Langfeld, who are on much fresher tyres. So you've got to say that if they wanted this strategy to work, Jan and Sean should have come in a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, they did, and we've saw this before, but with Jen, I believe, just pitting a little bit too late and taking himself out of the race because of that, just losing too much time. And I think Stinna is starting to lose touch a little bit to Secret Dundee. He's struggling to stay within that 1 second window of Secret Dundee.
Yeah, Dundee doing a really good job so far. This has definitely been his best showing of the season so far. Definitely for both Renaults, actually, it's been their best showing of the season so far. Like I say, Sinner struggling to keep up at this point in the race. Jabu was under all sorts of pressure from Simply Superman, but Jabu was doing just enough to stay within David's DRS range, which is helping him hold that 7th place for the time being. Tom has re-caught these guys after that little mistake earlier on, and now Steve is right there as well, only 1.2 seconds back. Graham a further 4 seconds back, and without any penalties as well, so he's got a lot of places that he could jump later on. Jan finally into the pit lane. Sean staying out. So Sean staying out, to me, looks like he's going for a set of soft compound tyres.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is, but I'm not sure that's the wisest decision to make. But yeah, who knows? Sorry. Who knows? Sean proved me wrong before, so maybe he's got some pace left in these tires and able to stay in front of Jan, who he was battling with.
Jan's come into the pit lane then and has gone onto a set of medium compact tyres. He comes out in 13th place behind Felgen, but those fresh medium tyres will have a lot of pace in them. He's got to use the pace now on those tyres. These tyres obviously running 18 laps on his first set of mediums means that he's only got to run 13 on this set, so these tyres won't really have any pace drop off at all in them. He'll have a lot of speed, so he's got to use that speed now to close up on the drivers in front. Simply Superman thinking about a move on Jabu into the chicane, but you've got to say now Simply Superman really being held up behind the Ferrari. Both Ferraris are the drivers at the moment that seem to be struggling to hold on to the cars in front.
Yeah, they do. Stinna has come back a little bit to Secret Dundee, but Jabu, maybe because of the pressure Simply Superman puts on him, looking every corner is looking, going a bit to the right, going a bit to the left. So yeah, I think Simply Superman just trying to force Jabu and making a mistake and trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, definitely looks like it at this point in the race. Is he going to be close enough out of the final corner? Jabu managed to get back in the DRS range through that final corner, so that has helped him quite nicely for the time being. Simply Superman won't be able to close in. Kiki's still right there as well. Kiki's going to be the man we've got to watch out for in these hard compound tyres. She started obviously outside of the top 10, had a crash on lap 1, has been on these tyres ever since the end of the first lap. So Kiki, can he take those tyres to the end of the race? It'll be a miracle if he can take those tyres to the end of the race. His tyres, though, are only a lap younger than our race leader, Sean. And Sean hasn't made a pit stop yet, so Kiki here, he's going to be the real first indicator of whether those tyres are going to be able to make it for the drivers around. If Kiki can make it to about lap 33 or 34, then most of these hard runners that pitted under the safety car should be okay.
Yeah, they should. And I think their luck is the safety car and tyre degradation not being that high behind the safety car, but yeah, I really don't think Kiki can keep these tyres alive until the end of the race, and if he does, there's just gonna be no pace left in them.
Yeah, it's going to be a real struggle for him later on, and he's got a lot of drivers catching him. Tom in behind on a little bit fresher set, Steve on a much fresher set, as is Graham. Felgen's there as well, and Jan has now caught the back of Felgen, not quite within DRS range, but wants to try and get a move done as quickly as he can on the McLaren. Into the pits comes Sean. Now what tyres does he go onto? It is a set of soft compound tyres for Sean. 10 laps on a set of softs is a tall order. We've already seen how difficult it is to keep these tyres in the temperature window, so we'll wait and see what he's able to pull off. He will be quite a way behind Jan, and under threat of being passed by Langfell, who's on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Out of the pit lane comes Sean. Langfell down the pit straight. He's going to have the outside line for turn 1. Sean is going to have to defend this move from Langfell. Sean just ahead through the first corner, but Langfell trying to get the run down towards turn 2. Not quite able to do so. Sean just holds on to 13th and he's 4 seconds behind Jan. And as I say that, he now leaves the session. So not going well. And now Jabu's gone off the road, coming out of turn 4 and broken his front wing.
Well,
that's a safety car.
Mistake.
Full safety car.
Full safety car for this?
Wow. Now that is big in this race now, because Hansen's lead was 4 seconds. That is now completely wiped out for our race leader. That now puts those drivers on a fresher set of tyres at the back, right onto the back of this queue of cars. This does allow these hard runners to try and extend these tyres to the end. But do any of these hard runners decide to come into the pit lane? That is what is crucial. Hansen, our race leader, is coming in, I think. Yeah, he is. Hansen into the pit lane then, going very slowly in, but our race leader deciding that he's not going to get to the end. Dundee's in, Stinner's in.
Oh, there's going to be a double stack.
Yeah, that is a double stack for the Renaults. David's in, Simply Superman's in. Wow, now that is a shock. I was not expecting Simply Superman to come into the pit lane. Kiki has stayed out. Now that is interesting.
Wow.
Kiki on 23 lap old hards has stayed out in the lead of this race. Steve now runs in second. Graham now runs third. Jan's now left the session, unfortunately, so everything's going wrong for a lot of these drivers. I don't know if there's a problem with the servers or something, but a lot of drivers have been leaving the lobby today. But that now puts Hansen, who was our net race leader, into 6th place. That is a big shuffle of the order. He's on a set of mediums. Yeah. Everyone else that pitted pretty much went onto the softs. Stinner, David, Tom, all on the softs. Simply Superman went for the mediums. Dundee ended up dropping to 13th place.
And look at Graham.
Yeah, Graham in 3rd now. Now that is a big jump.
Always. Yeah, like always, just creeping up there. He started 17th, 16th, something like that.
Yeah, he did, yeah. 16th on the grid. I don't know if we can get an invite maybe across to Jan in the lobby. I don't think he's back in his car yet. I don't know if he's got another invite to the lobby. Hopefully he does. Sean as well.
Send him one.
Yeah, if we can send one to those drivers so that they don't lose out at this point in the race. But Jan here, I don't know how this keeps happening for Jan, but he keeps running strategies that don't seem to be able to work, and then he ends up landing in a position where he's got an amazing opportunity in this race as Jan now. So Jan running with a really odd strategy now has a great opportunity of picking up that 4th podium in a row. Graham right up there as well, and both of these drivers in the championship hunt as it stands. Graham equal 4th with David on points, Jan in 3rd, and with Secret DJ Jill out of the race and Simply Superman down in 12th. This is a major opportunity for Graham and Jan to try and gain some points at this point in the race.
Yeah, it is, and I was just wanted to say the big loser out of this all was Sean, who went in 1 lap before this all happened, but look at him being in P7 on the soft tires as well, and they're only 1 lap older. And because of this safety car, I don't think he's going to struggle that much at the end of the race. So even Sean on the softest compound you can go on, in a pretty good position.
Yeah, he's in a very good position. Hopefully he can get back in the lobby before the safety car gets going. The safety car staying out for this lap, but that's because of Vapor Lion, who's at the back of the field. He should catch the safety car queue, though, by the end of this lap. So hopefully Jan and Sean can get back in their cars before this safety car lap is over and done with. Kiki, then. This is very interesting. Kiki has been desperate for a win in TTML. He's spoken about it a lot, that he's been close to wins, and it's never worked out for him. He now leads this race, only making 1 pit stop in this race. That was on lap 1 for a set of hard compound tyres. This is a pretty desperate move, you've got to say, from Kiki to try and win this race. Obviously it's difficult to overtake here, but Steve has got much fresher tyres, and it's really debatable as to whether Kiki's going to make it to the end of the race.
Yeah, even if he's going to make it, the difference in laps on these tyres is just too big. And you said it before, fresh tires are gonna give you so much more advantage over old tires. So yeah, Kiki staying out. I mean, I have to give it to him for trying something different and really wanting this win. But it's gonna be, I think, too lot to ask to keep the guys behind him. I don't think these tires have it in him.
Yeah, I think there was a problem there as well, as Jan was able to get back into his car. Obviously, the car goes into like a ghost mode when you go back under the safety car, and Jan passed Graham in the process. Graham's car made contact, and that's a time penalty. That will be removed, very likely for Graham. That penalty will very likely be removed. So hopefully we just have to keep an eye on where he finishes on track, because he would still be in the running. That is a bit of an unfortunate incident, but the safety car is in. Jan's back in his car. Sean unfortunately is not, so he'll plummet at the safety car restart. At the moment, Kiki then is the man that's going to lead the way out of the final corner. He's not gone though, he's decided to slow down just before the line, and that's going to cause carnage in the background, and it has a break before the line. Kiki went and then stopped before the line. Now that is not fair for the drivers behind. That has caused damage, I think, for Hansen, who was leading this race for so long, is now out of the running. Complete carnage into turn 1. Steve in second, Langfels ended up third, having gained a number of places before the line because of that break for Kiki. Steve then in second place, Langfeld third, Jan runs fourth, Stinner's now up into fifth ahead of Tom, who's right up there as well. Graham has been shuffled down the order, and David runs wide coming out of turn 3. What a shame for Hansen, who had his hands on the trophy here tonight, now out of it because of a really botched safety car restart there from Kiki. Gotta say from Kiki, that's a slam dunk penalty, going and then stopping before the line.
Yeah, or he overtook the safety car while the safety car was in. I was trying to invite Sean, so I didn't see it, but if Kiki went too early and was too close to the safety car, the game slows you down automatically. But even though it's still a mistake, and yeah, costing Hansen, I think, the race win today.
Yeah, that's such a shame for Hansen, then down to 15th place with some damage on that front wing. That is an absolute disaster of a safety car restart. Kiki leads the race. Steve runs in second with a time penalty. Langfeld now runs third. Langfeld gained about 3 or 4 places before the start-finish line. Tom has now spun through the final corner, and that is utter carnage through the final corner as the drivers trying to avoid the AlphaTauri. Simply Superman is the man that's been heavily affected by that. He got rear-ended, I think, coming through the final corners. Everyone was slowing down to avoid it, and he's dropped to 14th with massive damage to his front wing. Tom was running up in 6th with no penalties, and he has just spun out of contention, and now Simply Superman diving down the inside of Tom, forcing him off the road with damage. So it's really getting messy in the middle part of this field. Now Stinner's past Jan. If Kiki doesn't get a penalty, it doesn't get a puncture or a penalty in this race, there is a massive chance that Kiki could win this race on the track, at least, having pitted on lap 1. Jan being overtaken is crucial in this race. He's not got any pace on those medium compound tyres for some reason. Been an absolute disaster. There's going to be a lot of, I can imagine, a massive amount of stewards' inquiries after this race. But I haven't got a clue who's going to win this race now. Kiki is holding on to it for the time being. 6 laps to go when they cross the line. If he doesn't get a puncture, he can win this on track. It's all about whether anyone behind can pass him on the road and build that gap.
Yeah, it's either not getting a puncture that can win in the race, or just everybody crashing out. As David and Flores go side by side now, but I believe Sean still they overtook Sean. I'm sorry, who still isn't back in his car, I believe. But yeah, Kiki in a great position, but 6 laps to go still. So, and I think these tires are crying already.
Yeah, definitely are. As Lines now past Graham, the 2 Red Bull drivers running side by side, and now Stinner has spun coming out of turn 1. What has this race been? This race has been absolute carnage from start to finish, and that is another spinner who's got away with no damage by the looks of things, but was running in 4th. That is him out of the running now completely. One thing I'm completely miffed by at this point in the race is Jan's apparent lack of pace. He doesn't seem to have any front wing damage. He just can't keep up with the drivers in front who are all on older tyres. I don't know what has happened to Jan at the safety car restart, but he's just not looked confident at this point in the race. Can he start to close in now with the 2 drivers in front having penalties? Kiki has got to keep close to Kiki in case he gets a puncture as well, will lose his pace. But Lion all of a sudden now runs 5th, having running last this entire race after contact early on in the race so far. What an absolute chaos race this has been. He's now got Jabu right behind Graham. He's now got Jabu right behind Graham. I don't know if he's got damage on his front wing, but he has plummeted after the safety car restart as well. David's right in there in the second racing point. It's all just kind of blown up in these recent laps. There's a yellow flag in the 3rd sector. Not really for anything. I don't think anything has happened. It's just a yellow flag that's popped up out of nowhere. Jabu's now going to have a run here at Graham down towards turn 1, who just can't keep pace at this point of the race. He's got no straight line speed either in that Red Bull, and Jabu breezes around the outside. David now thinking about a move in towards turn 1 as well. Not quite close enough on the brakes, but can he get the traction out of the first corner? And down towards turn 2 is on the ERS. He's going to go to the outside line. Can he brake around the outside of the Red Bull man? He's going to go really deep on the brakes around the outside. Little bit of will-to-will contact, but that's a stunning move from David, who drives clean around the outside and up into 7th place. Graham continues to plummet through the field. Flores and Sinner will be the next ones to challenge him, as Sean's AI car has pitted for some reason. He's now got Hansen and Secret Dundee right behind. Simply Superman down in 14th with Tom, who runs in 15th place. What a chaotic race this has been, and somehow Kiki still leads.
Yeah, incredible. But in the corner, Steve is just right, almost in his gearbox with the wing on his car. That's how much more grip Steve has compared to Kiki in the corners. But yeah, if Kiki can keep this up, he's in a great position to win his first race, I believe. Yes, this season. But yeah, what a carnage! Still, I'm trying to figure out what happened last couple of laps after the safety car restart. It was
Steve to the inside line, down the inside of the Mercedes. Can Kiki try and hold it around the outside? I don't think he's going to be able to. Sean, you kind of have the run down the outside of the corner, forces Kiki onto the curb. Jan, meanwhile, under pressure from Lion, who continues his charge up through the field. I don't know if Jan's dawdling at this point in the race. And now Kiki, a little bit of a mistake there. Langfell's gone clean past him. I think that was around the outside. Langfell up into second. Now it's a battle between Langfell and Steve for the lead of this race. I don't know how many penalties each of these drivers have. Just going to double check that now. 3 seconds for Steve and Langfell. They've got to build a 3-second gap on Kiki and Jan. And Langfell on fresher medium compound tyres and more ERS in his back pocket as well, has a great opportunity of winning this race. By the way, Langfell started dead last. That is how crazy this race has been. Steve running up in the lead of this race, then Kiki's got to try and hold on with the tyres he's got. The only comfort for him at the moment is that Jan, on the freshest set of medium compound tyres of anyone in the top 4, just doesn't seem to have any pace.
No, he doesn't, and I don't know why, because it is a fast guy. But yeah, the battle between Kiki and Langfell, I was on board.
Another spin, Lion now.
Spinner.
From 5th place, Lion spins from a possible top 5 finish and has broken his front wing. That's opened the door for Jabu, who's got David coming down the inside of him now all of a sudden. David up into 6th place, looking for 5th on the inside of Jabu, who's got the time penalty anyway. David, penalty free, locks up down the inside. That's a forceful move down the inside of the Ferrari driver who gets the move done. David's up into 5th. It still continues to battle on as Jabu's going to try and send it down the inside of turn 2. He's not close enough though. He has to drop down into 6th place. Lion into the pits to replace his front wing. What on earth has this race been? Steve leads only by 3/10. Kiki's still within penalty range of the drivers in front. If Jan wants to win this race, he's got to catch and pass Kiki.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, it's going to be a lot to ask in 2 laps, 3 laps, 2.5 laps we have left. Because getting on the back of someone is one, but passing them is a completely different thing. But David's still in a great position as well. If David can put pressure on Jan and overtake him, he doesn't have any penalties as well. He can gain some positions after passing them as well and come onto the podium as Vapor Lion.
Stinner's out of the race. Stinner and Vapor Lion have crashed at the same time at different parts of the circuit. So Stinner's crashed coming out of 9, and Vapor Lion's crashed coming out of turn 4. So this just keeps giving people that had terrible restarts more places in this race. Royce is now 8th. Hansen's back up to 9th. Sean's in 10th and isn't even in the lobby, and Simply Superman's now up to 11th place, having crashed at the final corner a few laps ago. So this race has been absolutely nuts. Steve leads by 4/10. They're now 1.8 seconds clear of Kiki, who's just continuing to struggle on his tyres. Jan's right there, David's right there as well, but Jan is losing this race at the moment to Steve in front, because Jan at the moment just doesn't seem to have any pace on his medium compound tyres.
Yeah, it's really... What's going on? I don't have any words for this race. It's incredible stuff. But David really putting the pressure on Jan now and trying to force Jan in a mistake. But Jan isn't the driver that makes that many mistakes. But we already have 6 DNFs this race. I think it's the first time for Division 3 we have so many DNFs.
Yeah, 7 DNFs now at this point in the
7
race.
DNFs.
7 DNFs and one driver not in the lobby, so pretty much 8 at this point in the race. Absolutely nuts. We're coming on to the final lap of this race now. This race has been utterly nuts. Has Langfell got anything left to try and challenge Steve for the lead of this race, or is Steve staring at his first win in TTML? Langfell using up the last of his ERS down the pit straight. Steve moving to the middle of the track is going to put Langfell on the outside, but Steve runs too deep into turn 1.
Oh.
Langfell's got the run around the outside. Is he going to get the move done? He is. Langfell forces Steve into a mistake, and Langfell takes over the lead of the race. Now Langfell has got to bring the gap up between himself and Kiki, who has somehow got 33 laps out of this set of hard compound tyres. Still hasn't punctured. Jan is still right there to try and capitalise, but isn't aggressive enough. Jan's not being aggressive enough at this point in the race to capitalise on any of the mistakes in front. Langfell has got to pick up at least a few more tenths on Kiki in this final sector and not pick up a penalty. And Langfell could be staring at a win from last place on the grid at Hungary. What an absolutely chaotic race this has been. Steve is still right there as well. Let's keep an eye on the gap between the drivers, and we'll go for the gap to the leader. It's 2.7 between Langfell and Kiki. It's not enough at the moment. Kiki could still win this race as they come into the final sector of the lap. Langfell then, the final 2 corners through turn 13 then. Langfell has got to get a good run through 13 and 14 if he wants to win this race. Kiki is really strong. He's got a puncture. Kiki's got a puncture at the penultimate corner. Langfell up to the line. He wins on track. Steve has run out of fuel coming up to the line. Jan misses out on the lead of the win of this race. Jan's got a penalty from somewhere, absolutely nowhere, without having any penalties on our end. He's picked up penalties and dropped to 5th for some reason. I don't know how that has happened, but David's end up in 2nd place. Despite a puncture, Kiki still finishes 3rd. Jabu ends up 4th. Jan drops to 5th. And Langfell wins from last on the grid. I don't have any words for that race. That is by far the craziest, most ridiculous, most astonishing race I have ever watched.
Yeah, it is. I mean, wow. We always have eventful races, but this is just too much. I don't even know what to think of it. Is it incredible? Is it? I don't know. But in the end, even in the penultimate corner, something weird happens, and Kiki blows up his tire, and everything goes to bits for him.
That I haven't got any words for that. Remember, we've got to think of drivers of the day after this. I haven't got a clue how we're going to be able to think of that, because everything happened in that race. But from 20th on the grid at Hungary in a completely dry race, Langfell wins in the Williams. That is that is absolutely bizarre. So Langfell is the winner from David, who ends up in 2nd place. A great drive from David as well. That throws him right in the championship ring once again after an absolutely chaotic race for a lot of our championship runners in that one. Kiki from a pit stop at the end of lap 1 ends up 3rd with a puncture, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a penalty hanging over his head after an absolutely disastrous safety car restart that started all of that carnage. Jabu ends up 4th somehow. Jan dropped to 5th without receiving any penalties, so I wonder if he's going to have to... probably going to try and get that fixed in the stewards as well. He would have finished this race in 2nd place, but he ends up 5th for some reason in that one. Graham in 6th, but his 5-second penalty is likely to be removed, so he might jump back ahead of Jabu in that sense as well. Steve in 7th after running out of fuel up to the line. Hansen, Voores and Sean round off the top 10, and Sean wasn't even in control of his car. Championship leader Simply Superman fell foul of that safety car restart, and Carnage in the midfield finished 11th with the fastest lap of the race. The man that's gained the most in the championship there is going to be David. In fact, both of the race of points to David and Jan, especially if Jan gets that finishing result resolved after this race. That could be a 2nd place finish for the Racing Point driver after that penalty is removed. Same for Graham as well, who's going to get that penalty removed. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets that removed as well. So David, Graham and Jan, that was a great race for them in terms of championship credentials.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And wow, what a race! It all started out normal until the safety car restart. Actually, from the safety car restart, it just utter chaos.
Yeah, I don't think I have really any words to describe. I think the only word we can use that to describe that race is carnage. carnage from start to finish. Qualifying, we had so many spins and so many crashes, so many drivers spinning in the race as well, so many crashes, so many overtakes, having no clue how the race was going to end up at any point really. So many people looked like they could have won that. Simply Superman looked like he could have won that. It was then looking like it was going to be Hansen winning the race, then Steve, then it looked like it could have been Sean, then it could have been Jan, and then it was Langfeld that ended up winning the race. So anything really happened in that race. As in terms of driver of the day, I think there's no debate here really. We've got to give it to Langfeld, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pick as well. It's from 20th on the grid after a really poor qualifying, winning a race like this. You can say, yeah, he's lucky because of everything that happened around him. But yeah, you have to be there. And I told you before, on the alternate strategy, he's really, really strong.
He is really strong. He's proved that a couple of times this season as well, especially in Japan. It went wrong for him in Japan, but he had great pace there. China was another one where it worked out quite nicely for him as well. But yeah, that is an absolutely stellar drive from Langfeld. Like you say, luck does play a part, but you have to put yourself in the right positions at the right time, and you have to make the best of the situation you are in. And he made best of it on the last lap as well. He forced Steve into a mistake and made that move stick, and then got the gap up to Kiki when Kiki got that puncture. So brilliant stuff there from Langfeld to take the win from last on the grid. I'm sure he wasn't expecting that. I'm sure none of you watching or racing really were expecting that at all. It's going to be hard to top that for the rest of the season as race of the season, you've got to say. I think across all divisions maybe it's going to be hard to top that. That was an absolutely crazy race. I might have to watch that one back because that was quite a lot of fun to watch. Obviously we've got another race this time next week at Belgium, so who knows how that one's going to pan out. I'm sure it's going to be a good race as well, but I mean, anything can happen. I think tonight has just proved that anything can happen in Division 3, and it probably will. That is our third different race winner this season, or fourth different race winner this season at the moment. So that is already more race winners than we've had this time last season. And, well, you definitely wouldn't have expected it to be Langfeld to be the fourth winner of the season. But there you go. That is just how it runs in Division 3. But that is where we're going to finish off the stream today, guys. Anything else you want to add, Conti, before we finish off?
No, I think you just summed it up perfectly.
Yeah,
the only thing I want to add, I'm just a little scared for tomorrow because I have to race in Hungary as well.
Oh God, good luck Divisions 4 and 5 tomorrow. That is gonna be something to live up to, that race. Speaking of Divisions 4 and 5, tune into those on League Racing TV tomorrow at 8 PM. They are hopefully going to be as good a races as that one just was. We will wait and see. We're obviously back this time next week on Thursday for round 6 of the season at Belgium. That is sure to be a great race as well, so tune into that one. But from myself and Conti, it is thank you very much for watching. We're going to go take a nap, and we will see you this time next Thursday. Goodbye.